Hey everyone, and welcome to the Criterion Connection, continuing our spooky edition of the Criterion Connection this month. As if this year wasn't spooky enough, we have to do more spooky movies. I'm Wade,
And I'm Joe.
and we are here. We're not doing a French movie, we're doing a Swedish movie from 1921. That's an oldie, a silent film called The Phantom Carriage, or as fellow Mint Condish production member Scott would say, Phantom Cabbage. Uh, yeah. So it's basically a spooky. It's not
It's
at all.
more of it's a spookier Christmas Carol. Man, this movie is really ahead of its time.
Oh yeah,
I have a hard time with some of these silent films of this particular time frame
yeah,
because a lot of directors just I don't know if it was just the pacing of that period just doesn't click with me or if it was just, they hadn't really figured it out yet. I don't know which is, I don't want to assume that I have a feeling of the correct pacing of a movie, but it just doesn't work. Like to me, it always comes off really slow. Back in those days, um, but this movie, it does so many things to try and differentiate itself from other ones. Kind of like ones I'm thinking of are like Metropolis and like Nosferatu from that German expressionism movement. This one goes light years ahead of what they were doing. You know, the cool thing with German expressionism, they do play with the camera movement and set design, but this, I the story, the story's good.
yeah.
Okay,
Like I'll say that the whole idea of like who dies last of the year is now gonna basically be the ferryman. The
the Grim Reaper for the next year.
Yeah, and I think that's a very great like
Yeah,
folklore. That's great.
yeah, and that's super interesting. And the story itself, kind of this one guy being shown by his buddy who had died on New Year's Eve the year before, showing him kind of what he's done and like what the promises he's failed to keep, and turning having him turn a new leaf. Basically, by the end of the movie, he grants the wish of the Salvation Army like den mother. Um, it, it, there's a lot of details in there. I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, by the end of the movie, he turns that new leaf because
Yeah,
you're dealing with a protagonist that is really like
the worst.
an awful person,
Oh yeah,
and like I said, it's very much Charles Dickens, Christmas Carol without all of the holiday kind of stuff going on. This is based in like Swedish folklore with the Grim Reaper. Um, where this movie excels is the effects and what they and the way they
Yeah, Victor Sjölstrom, and he had this idea. Imagine shooting like for instance, David being dead,
Hmm.
right? Before his soul sucked out. He filmed that with the mindset of, okay, we're gonna put this, the other roll of film, we're gonna have this and this and this, and it has to be framed perfectly. Like
Yeah,
he was thinking about those things at the in 19. Well, I guess this was made in 19. This came out in 1921, so maybe it was being made in 1919, 1920, around there. Like just the level of like ideas.
the attention to detail, like
Yes.
to have the scenes match up perfectly, to have the hand crank done perfectly. Like it's amazing it got done.
Well,
Like,
and plus on top of like directing performances, some good performances here too. Like,
yeah, the guy who plays David is tremendous.
yeah, like it's just like there's so many. And what I like about David is he's not clean cut.
Oh no,
He's very scruffy.
far from it.
I mean, he loves holes in his jacket. He had to rip them again. Um, like he's just very like not, I don't want to say he's a gremlin, but he's just like compared to like if you look at other movies from like this era where like I know like like Dracula and Frankenstein weren't really around just yet. Well, like if you look at like Bela Lugosi, he's entrancing, or like Victor Frankenstein's he's not an ugly dude, right? This guy is just scruffy. He looks the way he acts.
Yeah, and 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 to go even further to praise, all of the other things in the movie, the score, at least that I watched it with on Criterion Channel, was excellent.
Yes, I agree. That was the next point I was gonna make. Is the sound is great.
The sound in the silent film. No, yeah, the musical score accompaniment is great as well, and it's not a surprise that it's as influential as it is. It's not a surprise that it has the effect on filmmaking that it does. Now, for a general film watcher nowadays, probably won't get too much out of it, especially when they're like, well, this is just like the Christmas Carol, you know, or, and like we talked about, it could be difficult to get into a silent film, but it does reward the watch, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Also worth noting, I looked into it as well. Not just Kubrick, but Bergman was very influenced by him, and like, of course, the Phantom Carriage is on Criterion Channel because almost all Ingmar Bergman's stuff is on Criterion Collection. So of course, what inspired him is going to be in the Criterion Collection, right?
You come across certain movies like this that just have a profound impact, not necessarily on the general public, but it has a profound impact on the next generation of artists. It's just like, how they talk about certain bands are that way. Well, there's also certain movies that are that way, where, somebody will come across it at some point and it just unlocks all of these, creative doors that they never thought of. Like Kubrick with the hatchet with the door, like the axe in the door, that whole scene that easily gets kind of lifted into The Shining. It's a very scary scene.
Oh yeah,
And no wonder, like, Kubrick probably sees this movie and that image just stays in his brain of
yeah,
of, of, of a manic psychopathic, father chopping down a door to get to his family who are trying to escape him.
yeah. Sadly,
Yeah,
there was no talk shows back in 1921, so he can't be like, "Here's Johnny."
yeah. And kind of run out of things to gush about.
Yeah. So I guess the last question is, Joe, would you recommend this to filmmaker, not filmmakers, film watchers, and also would you add this to the 31 Days of Halloween kind of lists of should you put it on your list?
I'll do the easier one first.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I wouldn't put this on a 31 Days of Halloween. list or like a marathon. It's spooky. It's got kind of some of those elements, but it just doesn't. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't have that feel yet. Like this isn't like Hexen. I think of it more of like this would be an interesting watch for New Year's if you want to put it as at a holiday, because that's around the time it takes place is a New Year's.
Literally, when I was watching this, I was like, "Ah, man, we should put this out on New Year's."
Yeah, but as a movie itself, that's where I struggle. Like I said, I don't know if this would work for most movie watchers, but I think people in our audience, I would say yes. But to like a general public, I doubt this would really go very far. But I would say yes. I would recommend this to another person.
I'm pretty much in the same basis as you. For 31 Days of Halloween, to me it feels more kind of a fantasy than a horror film.
Yeah, this is kind of like I said, it has the feel of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Which it's not a Halloween movie, but it's scary.
And I'll definitely agree with the recommendation I feel like this is more for film connoisseurs, not for like the general public. If you're a filmmaker or a cinematographer or editor or just any kind of artist, like even photography deals with double exposure, definitely check this out. I think I definitely recommend it for the artists.
Yeah, it's definitely
audience.
For somebody who is deep into the craft.
So that's our thoughts on The Phantom Carriage. Let us know in the comment section below what you think. What's your favorite part of The Phantom Carriage? Was a similar movie that's like Phantom Carriage that back in these times inspired a whole filmmaking generation. Let us know all that. Like, subscribe, share, and of course, as I mentioned the past few weeks, we have a Letterboxd list. So go through lists, search Criterion Connection. You'll see all the movies we've reviewed. Is there something you missed? Go check it out. Go watch it. Make it a game. Get 100% of all the Criterion Connection movies that we've watched. And then watch the review. So until next time, I'm Wade.
And I'm Joe.
And we will see you later.